So, hello, we will start in a few minutes. I'm just checking if anybody else is joining. Okay, in the meantime, if you have any questions for me, you can let me know. You can just type it in the chat box or you can just unmute yourself and speak. So, two things. Firstly, I think some people were missing lecture number 117, video number 117. It is somehow they have missed adding it in the playlist on YouTube. The playlist on YouTube for microeconomics is somehow omitting video number 117, but it is there in the Swayam portal. If you look at the Swayam portal under week 11, the video is linked over there. So if you have somehow missed out on not on if you're missed out on viewing video number 117, you can look at it on the Swayam portal. Second thing, we will have an overview session on Saturday. It's an extra session. This is not a regular class. This is some an extra class sort of, which we are supposed to have, or rather, which we have the option to take as the PMRF TAs for all the students, just to help you review the entire course material before the test. So let me see. I don't know when the exam is for this course, but it's not given anywhere here. So you know that the exam is between April 19 and 26. I don't know the exact date for the exam for the course. So anyway, for all of you, whether you're having the exam or you're writing the exam or not writing the exam, either way, there is a review session scheduled on Saturday. I think 6 to 8 p.m. It's an extra class. And in that session, I will take up the questions and concepts from the entire course. So if you have any difficulty in any part of the course, we can discuss that. And after the review session, we will have the last class for this course, which is week 12. That is as per the regular schedule, which is next Tuesday. So I know that the overview session should ideally be after the last class, but somehow the cutoff in time that they gave us was before April 18th. And I think our last class itself is on April 16th. So, and I'm not able to take the class on any other day in the week. So that's why I've scheduled it on Saturday. But on Saturday, I will discuss the whole course. So I will discuss questions from week 12 also. I will cover part of week 12 also, because week 12 itself, the syllabus is quite a bit. Like, I don't know, somehow week 11 has only 9 or 10 videos, but week 12 has more than 20 videos, I think. Yeah, so that is why I will discuss part of week 12 on Saturday. And apart from that, I will also have the regular session on Tuesday for week 12. So, I mean, I don't mind repeating stuff on week 12 on Tuesday, but just so you know, for those of you who are interested, you can join the extra overview session on Saturday. I think you will get the notification from that from NPTEL shortly. This is question 2 from which assignment? You posted something in the chat box.
Good evening, ma'am. Ma'am, it is from the assignment number 10, ma'am.
Okay.
And ma'am, these are the 4 options which I have posted now.
Yeah, let me just open it. This assignment 10. Okay. Yes. So what is your doubt in this question?
Ma'am, I couldn't get it how they have got to the answer. Because I felt the opinion answer should be the option one.
Why? Why did you think it would be option one?
Ma'am, it says that a firm is perfectly competitive industry in experiencing average revenue greater than average cost. That
Yes.
means the they are getting some profit, ma'am.
Yes.
So now when they are getting some profit, that means they are not getting huge profits. They are just getting some profit.
No, it is not saying that it is getting only a little profit. That is your, see, you have to read the question very carefully. If a firm in a perfectly competitive industry, so first of all, in at least at your level, whenever we're talking about a firm in a perfectly competitive industry, we are assuming that they're all identical. Okay, if nothing is given about firms in a competitive market, you will assume that each firm is exactly the same as the other in terms of their cost structure and their goods. So if they are
Okay,
experiencing
ma'am.
average revenues greater than average costs, it just says greater than. It does not say only a little greater than. It does not say it's a little bit greater than. It is saying it's experiencing average revenues greater than average costs. Then in the long run, so now if in the short run itself they're having revenues greater than average cost, then in the long run they can definitely have much higher revenue because they can obviously optimize better in the long run, right? And this is exactly what happens in any industry actually. If you see, if there is, say, suppose if there's a blue ocean and there is some two, three firms maybe which enter that particular industry, the farming industry, right? And getting, they start becoming really profitable. Then a lot of other people, a lot of other big players, everybody sees that, okay, this industry is very profitable. Even in the long run, they're able to survive, right? So I see, otherwise, if the industry is not profitable, if you're not making revenues greater than cost, if your revenue is not covering your cost, what will happen? The companies will shut down, right? In the long run, the company has the option to shut down. In the short run, they may not have, they have to cover the variable costs. But when the long run, they have the option to shut down if they are experiencing revenues less than average costs. But if they're experiencing revenues greater than average cost, and in the long run, they will definitely survive. And then, like, it's sort of like word goes out that, okay, this industry is very profitable. Then a whole lot of other players also enter that market, making it even more competitive. And when there are a lot of players in any industry, in any market, obviously you will have lower price. So that is what the answer is saying, that some firms will enter the industry and prices will fall. So when there are more firms in any industry, the prices start coming down. It will not rise
Ma'am,
because obviously there is people, so they're all competing, and each will keep. I don't know if this is covered in the videos, but when there are a lot of players, say suppose there are 100 firms in an industry, right? One firm, if they raise the price, and the price of the goods, say suppose is 50 rupees. Now, if one firm wants to raise the price to 55, will they be able to do it? No, they will lose the entire, the entire market share, and they will be kicked out of the market because people will just buy from the remaining 99 firms which are selling it at 50 rupees. Why will they buy it from you who is selling at 55? And we are assuming products are identical. There's no differentiation in products, right? So in the long run, what will happen out of, like, say suppose market price is 50. Now one firm lowers its, has the capacity to lower the market price to 45, right? The marginal cost is, say suppose 30 rupees or something. They decide that they can increase their market share by lowering the price to 45. So in the short run, they will make a lot of money, because they will get a big chunk of the market share by reducing the price to 45. But obviously, within no time, all the other firms will see that, hey, this guy is taking up all the share by reducing the prices. So they will all cut their prices. And this does happen. This is not a theoretical concept. This is very much what is actually seen. You can take the case of mobile phones, you can take the case of many electronics for that matter. You can take the case of things like earphones. There's like so many items which used to be much pricier, say 15 years ago, but now they are not. Internet, you can take the case of just Wi-Fi and broadband prices. 20 years ago, it was in the same price. I could not even get like 5 Mbps or something. Now we can get like 200 Mbps in the same price. So that is because of increased competition, increased players, and this kind of what we call is undercutting of prices. So in the long run, if any industry is profitable, more players will enter that industry and the prices are bound to fall. Does that answer your question?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Ma'am, I've got another question, ma'am. Same assignments, 7, ma'am. Question 7.
Question 7.
I've just posted, ma'am.
Okay. One.
Ma'am, I felt the answer should be fixed costs that do not change with output in the short run, but can be altered in long run, such as rent and salaries.
Just 1 minute. Just hang on. Let me just read the question. Yeah, so quasi-fixed cost, the answer is basically just telling you something I think we already discussed in the previous class, or at least in the lecture, I think it is there, where, for example, like you have something like rent. Rent is not exactly a fixed cost, because if you scale up, like, for example, you get a 1 BHK apartment, but just giving you an example, okay, the rent will be something, say X per month is the rent, and you have a contract or you have an agreement for 1 year. So for 1 year, your rent cannot change, right? So it is fixed for 1 year. But the next year, the rent is going to change, or the rent can change, right? So that is a quasi fixed cost. Or if, in this case, I'm referring in terms of time, or if you don't want to look at it in terms of time, if you want to make it even simpler, if you get a 1 BHK and if you get a 2 BHK or 3 BHK, the rent is different, right? Or if you look at factory space, you get a smaller factory, your rent is something. Now you have to, now within that factory, you may not be using the entire factory space. So your level of output may be, you may be producing only 5 units, or you may be producing 50 units in that same factory space. The rent remains the same. But say suppose the entire, the workspace itself can support only the production of 50 units, it cannot support higher production than that, then you will get a bigger factory space. So then if your output is more than 50 units, you need a bigger space, bigger factory space, or maybe you want to add one more floor space to it, then your rent is going to increase. So that is what they mean by quasi fixed cost, where it is changing with the level of output, and it is a level thing. Let me just draw it. So if you want to just draw it as, say, suppose this is cost, this is quantity. So it will be at this level, say till the output is Q1, and then it is going to jump and it will be at this level when your output is Q2, this is fixed cost. Then it will jump further maybe and be at this level when your output is Q3, and say suppose then it remains the same irrespective of output, something like that. This is fixed cost as a function of Q. Okay, this is a very rough diagram, but I think you kind of get the idea behind it, that as you increase the level, it's not like it's not increasing like this. That is when your cost is varying with the output. That is variable cost as a function of Q. But we are not talking about varying cost. We're talking about fixed cost or quasi fixed cost, if you want to. As a function of Q. Quasi fixed is like it remains at one level up till a certain output level, and then it increases, and again it remains at that level up till a certain output, and then it again increases, and so on and so forth. So at up till a certain interval, you can take it as fixed. So in the short run, you can take it as fixed. So in this much interval, output between 0 and Q1, you can take it as fixed. Similarly, for output between Q1 and Q2, it is fixed, but it does increase.
Ma'am, I got that. So,
Yeah.
ma'am, the second option should also be correct then.
What is the second option? No, this is not exactly saying the same thing. See, it sounds like it is saying the same thing, but it is not saying the same thing. It is saying that, see, in the long run, actually, any cost can be changed typically. So, in the what it's saying is fixed costs that do not change with output in the short run, but can be altered in the long run, such as rent and salaries. So, rent and salaries can be quasi fixed also, but they can be variable also. They can be completely fixed also. It depends on your structure, so it's not like one rule which they all follow, first of all. Secondly, what they are saying is that fixed quasi fixed costs are just quasi fixed, are just fixed in the short run, and they can be varied in the long run, which is not true, which is not what we are saying. So if your short run includes both these levels of output, then it is not fixed in the short run. If this is your short run, for example, then this particular cost, quasi fixed cost, is not fixed in the short run. It will change with the level of output.
Got it, ma'am.
Okay. All right. So let me start with today's questions, and I really suggest that today everybody pays proper attention, because this chapter is specifically important to understand. As in, a lot of people get this wrong. So not just a lot of people at undergrad level, but a lot of people even at postgrad level often get these things kind of wrong. So it's not that difficult, but it's just something you need to understand conceptually. And a lot of people miss out on this. Like they forget that they need to check all these things. This was question 7, what you just asked me, right? Give me a moment. Just okay, so now let's go to week 11, question 1. What do you think is the answer? So this is a very basic diagram where I've not drawn a whole lot of curves because I thought it makes it a bit confusing. The market price is P star, and the marginal cost curve is like so. So what do you think is going to happen in this scenario? If you want, you can draw other curves on this, and actually, yeah, first I'll let you answer, and then I will talk about other scenarios in this. You can type in your answer in the chat box. Okay, one person who's answered. There are actually only, I think, okay. Others? This is just to make sure we are all on the same page. It's not actually a very difficult question. Yeah, it's important that everybody kind of gets this right. Okay, so let me share this from the iPad. Oops. Okay, so let's go over it a little bit one by one. So say suppose this is your diagram, something like this. My drawing is not too good. Okay, this is slightly better, but say suppose the price is somewhere here. This is the marginal cost. This is P star, this is Q. This is the diagram we have, right? And it is giving us 2 points in the question, 3 points, sorry. And we are asked at what level the firm will maximize its profit. Now, in this part, use some other color. In this part, at this point, what is happening? If the firm increases output, it is still having, its price is above, but its marginal cost is still falling. So it is going to go on increasing its profit. So it will not maximize its output here, not a maximum. At this point, at quantity Q is equal to Q1, the price is equal to marginal cost. But if you increase, if you increase the quantity, that is, if you keep moving forward, you want me to share? Okay, 1 minute. Okay, just give me a moment. I'm just uploading the slides to the shared folder. Okay, I've uploaded the slides now, so you can see it in the shared folder if you want to look at the question alongside. So you see, I'm marking in green what the sort of the profit of the firm is. So in all this region, the firm is going on making profit, right? Price is above the marginal cost line. At this point, even though at this point, the firm is making a lot of profit, it looks like that is a maximum. But what is happening is that it by increasing, it is actually increasing its profit. The diagram does not look it. That is the main reason why people get confused. But you see, if increasing profit, it's not making only this much, it's making the whole thing as profit, revenue actually, minus the marginal cost. So this whole thing is the firm's profit. Okay. So yeah, this, let me delete this. Oops. This is kind of a bit confusing, I think. So I'm deleting this just because I don't want to confuse you. But what I was trying to show here was that this is the increase in this region. So when you come here at this point, actually, you can see that your revenue and costs are equal. You can see that price and marginal cost is equal again. And by moving further, now your cost is increasing and it is exceeding the revenue you will be making. So P into Q is the revenue. This is the revenue, right? The revenue is not increasing because price is fixed at P star. Let's view this on a white background. will be easier to see, I think. So you can see that revenue is still this much, okay, and cost is increasing. Whatever, this is your part, right? This is also your cost. Now, I have not talked about variable cost right now, but even just from this diagram, you can see that after this point, Q3, the firm is not having the option of maximizing its revenue at all, maximizing its profit at all, because here you can see the marginal cost, meaning marginal cost into Q3 gives you the cost, right? So this is the cost here, and at this point, marginal cost into quantity is equal to price into quantity, which is total revenue minus total cost is equal to profit, right? P is equal to total revenue minus total cost is equal to P star into Q star, say, and marginal cost into Q star. Right, so at this point, because P star is equal to marginal cost, your profit is zero. But if you move further down the line, so you keep increasing quantity, this term is getting bigger and this term is getting smaller. So beyond Q3, the firm cannot maximize its profit, irrespective of, we've not talked about average variable cost right now, but irrespective of where the average variable cost curve lies in this diagram, beyond the value of Q3, if the market price is fixed at P star, if the market price is fixed at P star, after Q3, the firm does not have the option of maximizing its profit. Given P is equal to P star, because in the problem you are given that P is equal to P star. Is this clear to everybody? Any questions in this? This explanation actually Professor Vimal has discussed in the class, but I just wanted to make sure that everybody gets it. Any questions, please let me know if you have understood or not, because if you have not, if you're not clear on this, next few questions will be difficult. Can you just type into the chat box if you have understood this so I can move further? And if you have not, I will answer your question. Okay, one person has answered. Any other doubts, questions? So see, it's always helpful to look at it in terms of area under the curve. Okay, I know that mathematically we do a lot of things very mathematically, and we will do a lot of things very mathematically, but it always helps to draw the diagram and to look at things geometrically a little bit, just to be a bit clear in your heads. I know geometrically, if your diagram is not very good, it can look wrong, but it still helps. So you see in this case, this pink shading is your total revenue, right? I mean, let me just make it even more precise. So this is also revenue, but this yellow part, I just didn't want to over draw on the yellow part, but just to be fair, this whole thing is your revenue as your quantity is increasing. But in this part, the cost is sort of eating into your revenue. That's how I like to think of it. And in this part, cost is completely exceeding your revenue. So this will go on as the curve goes on. Okay, so in this part, you can easily see that, again, cost is also, this is, hang on, let me just, yeah, I've drawn it a bit wrong. Let me fix this part. Give me a moment. So this is what happens when you draw the diagram. When you draw the diagram, you can pick up little nuances a bit better. So from explanation point of view, this was right, but let's see what the cost is. Cost is this area under the marginal cost curve, right? This is cost, and we put the pink back. This is revenue. So in now it's, I think, better, better shading at least. Yeah. Okay, now I think it is a bit clearer. The whole thing under the marginal cost curve, that's what we mean by integral. That's what we mean when we say marginal cost into quantity, right? Integral is just area under the curve. So if you see this area under the curve, let me make this a bit thicker. That is your marginal cost. And if you see the pink shading, uh, but I was just trying to make it neater, but it just doesn't work. So, okay, forget it. The pink shading is the revenue. Now I think, at least I hope it will be clearer. No confusions, right? So this pink thing is just the rectangle, P star into Q or Q star, whatever you want to call it. So if you see now at point Q3, at the level Q3, the both are going to be equal, and beyond Q3, the cost is greater than um, revenue. Okay, now let me move back to the question. Okay, now in the same question, which of the following do you think are true for the profit maximization? You can take a moment to think. You can type in your answer in the chat box. Okay, so what we just discussed for the condition of profit maximization, at this point that Q is equal to Q3, what are we seeing? We're seeing that marginal cost is equal to P star, right? So price will be equal to marginal cost, but this is just following from our previous discussion that Q3 is the point at which profit is going to be maximized, right? If it were being maximized at some other level, we would call it Q1, Q2, Q3, Q10, whatever it may be. In this particular question, Q3 is the level at which profit is being maximized. And hence, P will be equal to marginal cost at Q3 at the point of profit maximization, right? Now, P is equal to marginal cost generally speaking, but at Q2, it is not maximizing its profit, and for reasons we will just come to, uh, the firm will not be supplying at in Q2 anyway. Now, what is the general condition for profit maximization, which we have not discussed till now, which is that, see, price is equal to marginal cost is only the first order condition which we looked at. Price should be also greater than the average variable cost at that point, okay, for maximization of profit. So now let's come back to this diagram. It's already having a lot of stuff on it, but well, we can't really help that, can we? So Now, say suppose in this diagram, I were to draw the average variable cost also. So it will be something like this. Okay, it's not very accurate again, but then I'm just drawing it manually. So marginal cost curve cuts the average variable cost curve from below at its minima. So this is, say suppose, the minima of the curve. Hopefully it looks like the minima. So at this point, average variable cost and marginal cost are the same. So let's call this point some other point, Q prime. Let's call it Q prime. So at Q prime, marginal cost and average variable cost are equal, and beyond this point, marginal cost is greater than average variable cost, right? Now, the problem is that beyond, on the left of this point, you see on the left of this point, what is happening is that even your average, not just your marginal cost, let's look at the average variable cost also. So the average variable cost is greater than your profit, right? So at this point, you need at least the price to be equal to marginal cost to average variable cost for the firm to even think of supplying. Okay, so let me mark this thing with another color. So basically the supply curve of the firm becomes only this part, not the whole thing. Beyond this point, the firm cannot even supply because it will not recover even its average variable cost. You see, the curve is going, my drawing is not very good, and I have just taken, let's draw the price line here also. I've actually not drawn the price line. So let's draw a second price line over here at P is equal to P prime. Let's call this P prime. This is Q prime. So see, above this point, let me shade it again. Above this point, this much is your extra variable cost. Okay, the whole thing is variable cost, but this much is the extra variable cost which the firm is incurring above and beyond the revenue it is making. So in this region, I hope I'm not confusing you. You're getting this right? I think Professor Vimal has explained it already. I'm just repeating what he has already explained. At this point, see this triangle, this triangle, sorry, not triangle, this rectangle is your total revenue, right? P prime into Q prime is the revenue. And the area under the average variable cost curve, the whole thing, this whole thing is the average variable cost, right? So the green part that I have shaded is, is the extra average variable cost, which is not being covered by the revenue. So the firm will not produce because it is not going to be able to even cover its average variable cost beyond this point, Q prime. So the supply curve of the firm will become this part, this very dark purple color curve which I have made. So this is your QS, or you can write it in small QS if you want. It's the firm supply curve. This is QS, this purple shaded part. Okay, I just wanted to make sure that this part is okay with everybody before I move on. So that is why what is below, or you can say to the left of Q prime, firm will not reduce because it does not recover its variable cost also, apart from fixed cost, right? So therefore, P needs to be greater than average variable cost at Q3 if it wants to, if if you want to, for let's just say for profit maximization. Actually, this condition P is greater than average variable cost at Q prime, let's say, is condition for firm to operate or produce. This is the general condition. But when you are checking for profit maximization at some point, you will also check this condition. You will not just check first order derivative, or you will not just check if this point is, a maxima or a minima, but you also have to check that this point is actually above P prime. So P star is what is given to us. In our problem, nothing is given about P prime. P star is given to us, but if P star were below P prime, then profit maximization cannot happen at that point, because at that point firm will not even produce. So how can it maximize its profit at that point, right? So which is why I've given in the question that P star needs to be greater than average variable cost at Q3 for its profit maximization. Okay, let's go back to the question. This is the question. It needs to be, okay, I'm not annotating here, but yeah, the option D and option B both are correct. Okay, now question 3 is a very similar kind of a question, which will just tell me whether you have understood it or not. So I'll mute myself for a few minutes and let me know what you think the answer is. Just type the answer in the chat box.
Ma'am, just a doubt in question to you, which you just explained. Ma'am, is both option B and D correct? Shouldn't it be only D?
No, both will be correct, because at that point price is equal to marginal cost, right? For profit maximization.
Ma'am, but in the diagram, we had not seen the marking of AVC was not there. So as you
Yes,
explained, the both conditions has to be correct.
yes.
So
That is
when
why I have given this, both the options. See, for profit maximization, if price is greater than average variable cost at Q3, then uh, 1 minute. Okay, I think I get what you're
ma'am,
saying. You're saying
can
that
you go
average
to the
variable, yeah,
yeah,
let
ma'am,
me, 1 minute.
if you just go back to the diagram, ma'am, just in case, let's say when you draw this AVC, if
Yes,
we leave and let's say the profit line which was given earlier, instead of Q3 being where you have presently given, and it was left of Q dash, because ma'am,
yes.
ABC we drew later.
Yes, so that is what I just explained to you, that this condition needs to be satisfied. For I'm just going
Yes,
step by step. That's all. I didn't want to throw all the masala into the sabzi all at once. You understand? So marginal, first of all, you have to understand that for Q3 itself to be a point of max was, first of all, you have to understand among Q1, Q2, and Q3, only Q3 can be the point of maximization. Q1 and Q2 cannot be, right? Now, even for
yes, ma'am.
Q3 to be the point of maximization, it needs to be greater than Q prime, which is given by that point where marginal cost is equal to average variable cost. But at point Q3, price will be equal to marginal cost. It will not be equal to average variable cost, right? It will be greater than average variable cost, which
Ma'am,
is what
just
I've
in
given in the
case,
question.
if MC is equal to ABC
Yes,
at that point, that is the Q
yes,
prime also. Ma'am, Q
yes.
prime is the point where the price will the profit maximization will happen.
No, Q prime is the point beyond which firm will decide whether it wants to shut down or produce. Q prime is not the point of maximization always. It can be, but it doesn't have to be. Q prime is just the decision of the firm. Less than Q prime, the firm will not operate at all. So the supply curve of the firm itself is decided or defined by Q greater than or equal to Q prime. Actually greater than, because at Q prime its revenue is zero. So you couldn't think of it either way. The firm may or may not produce at zero. So some places they write it as greater than, some places they write it's greater than and equal to, but it definitely cannot be less than Q prime. You get what I'm saying?
Yes, ma'am. That I've got, ma'am.
Yeah. So now what is your confusion?
Ma'am, only confusion is that the thing is that AVC MC has to be greater than AVC for this
Yes.
condition to happen always. But if we
Yes.
see only the B option, it says price is equal to MC at Q3.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, ma'am, I got it, because you have also given along with it at point of profit maximizing.
Yes.
I got it
Yes.
now. Thank you, ma'am. I got it. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Let's go back to question 3. Okay, now quickly, please, because I still have a lot to cover, and I wanted to explain this part properly, because if you don't understand this part, the rest of the questions will not make sense. So question 3, you don't have to solve anything, you just have to read the table. So just read the table and tell me what the answer is. Okay, let's go over question 3. Yes, only one person has answered. Let's see what we will do in this situation. So now see what is happening in this. I will annotate it on the slide itself. Let's go with this. Okay, now look at the marginal cost thing, the diagram table, the column for marginal cost. Okay, one person has answered. At what point do you think marginal cost is minimum? Just reading the numbers itself, you can see, right? At this point, marginal cost is minimum. Okay, this is the minimum. Now look at the average variable cost column. At average variable cost is minimum at 6, right? And at that point, I don't like that green. Marginal cost is equal to average variable cost. It's too thick. Yeah, at that point, marginal cost and average variable cost are the same, which means what? At this point, if I am to just dirty this slide a little bit and draw a very teeny tiny diagram here. One minute, let's draw this in black. Oops. At this point, let's draw this. This is your marginal cost. And this is your average variable cost. It's not very accurate, but we have to work with what we've got. So this is the point where you can see Q is equal to 6. This is happening. Not sorry, not Q is equal to 6. Q is equal to, what is Q here? 7. At this point, this condition is getting satisfied. If I were to write this as P prime and Q prime, P prime here is equal to what? 6, right? Because at this point, marginal cost is equal to average variable cost. This is the marginal cost curve. This is the average variable cost curve. And we can see even from the table, the numbers, marginal cost, average variable cost, both are 6, equal to the price, right? So this point is 6 and Q prime is 7. Now, as we just discussed, very lengthy discussion, beyond this point, like left of this point, the firm will not produce. The firm will produce only in this region. Right? This is what we just discussed. I'm just redrawing the diagram in a slightly miniaturized way, which we just discussed in the previous question. Only the numbers are changed. So for Q prime less than 7 or P prime less than 6, the firm is not going to operate. Right? So then what does that mean? If the price is 5.5, what will the firm do? It will shut down, right? It will not produce. Now, I gave you this option, very tempting option, because a lot of people will see 5.5 equal to 4, 5.5 equal to 6. So 6 is the higher value. So it will operate at 6, which is A. But that is exactly what I wanted you to check. First, check if the price, the market price which is given, is it even above the minimum price beyond which the firm is going to operate. This is why I said that, this concept many people miss even at postgrad level. It's not just an undergrad problem. So that is why we have to first check whether it is even greater than average variable cost or not, which it is not in this particular case. So the firm will shut down. I'm not marking the answer because if somebody sees the slides, they may not want the answer out like that, but that is the answer. So is this clear? Can I move on? Any questions? So these are made up numbers, but you will find a very similar table in the book Andrew Scottard, which Professor Vimal has referenced in the videos. And it's a good book. So if you want to refer to the book, I think especially for this chapter, you can do that. It describes whatever I have discussed in the class. A lot of it is explained in the book. So it would be a good idea to refer to the book. Okay, now this is another question from Andrew Scottard. The solution is not given for this question, but you will just have to go with my solution. So how do we go about this? So by the way, the question is given, the functions are taken from the book, but I have modified the question a little bit to cover more ground, basically. Okay, so this is the question. I will give you a few minutes to think about it, but first of all, like, what are we supposed to do? We have two firms. We are assuming that there are only two firms in an industry, but it is still a perfectly competitive market. Okay, I know it's a little bit of a contradiction. Generally, that is not the case, but that is assumed that that is true. So now we are given the total cost functions of two firms and their different cost structures, which is there on the screen. Now, all you have to do, first of all, is to find the supply functions of both the firms in the short run. So all this analysis, whatever you've done is for the short run, right? In week 11, you cover only short run, actually. You discussed long run only in week 12. So I've not discussed anything about long run in this particular class. We will discuss it on Saturday in the overview and next Tuesday. So yes, I think Harmohit has typed the approach, which is good thing. Got it. Professor Vimal has solved a very similar example in the class. So again, if you want help, you can refer to that. Okay, at this point, I'm going to mute myself and I'm here, but I will take a 5-minute break. And I will encourage you to solve this question. So what we discussed till now was that we first to find the supply function, we first find the point at which marginal cost equals average variable cost. And at that point, whatever price you get, quantity you get, that is the minimum price and quantity at which the firm will produce. Beyond that, you find the marginal cost function, and from there you get the demand function, supply function. So that is the basic approach. I've just told you the basic approach. So please attempt it, and then if you are not able to, then I will discuss the answer in the class. But for now, I'm just asking you to please solve it yourself first. I'll be back in maybe 7 minutes or something. Okay, so is anyone able to solve it? Let's see. Let's go back to okay. Okay, let's rewrite the questions. So first, let's do the first form. Total cost 1 is equal to, I'm just going to write it in decreasing power of q. So it's 2q minus 4q square plus 50q plus 100, right? Now we will first get marginal cost of 1, which is d by dq of total cost as a function of q. So this is 6q square minus 8q plus 50. Now, there are other ways in which people solve this problem. In books, you will find it solved in a slightly different way, but this is the method which I use, which I find to be just as easy and a little more clear. So what I will do is I will factorize this term. It's a quadratic term. I will express it in the form of a, like parabola, right? If I have to define it that way. So let's say I take 6 common out of this whole thing between the q terms and I write this as 8q by 6 plus 50. This I can again rewrite as 6 into q minus, now if I want to express this as a whole square, then what will this be? 4 by 6 whole square plus 50. Now we have added this term, now we also need to subtract it, right? So if you write whole square of this term, what do you get? Q square plus 4 by 6 or 2 by 3 whole square minus 8q by 6. So we have added an extra 2 by 3 whole square, right? So we will subtract that terms, 6 into 2 by 3 whole square. Okay, this is the usual method to factorize any quadratic term. So minus 2 by 3 whole square plus, now you can solve this. I have solved it somewhere, but just let me redo it again, just to sort of double check. 2 by 3 whole square is what? 4 by 9, and 9 and 6 cancel out. So 2 by 3, yeah, 1 minute. This is 4 divided, hang on. So you can calculate this on your own. You don't have to rely on my calculation. This comes out to be 2.6667. 50 minus 2.667 comes out to be 47.33. Okay, so this is marginal cost of 1. Okay, any doubts so far? Just give me a moment. My cat is crying outside the room. Yeah, so let's continue. Now we can similarly compute the average variable cost. So average variable cost is not a differential. Average variable cost of firm 1 is nothing but total cost of firm 1 divided by Q, right? So what is the total cost? Let me just open the function again. 2q square minus 4q.
Isn't it should be the variable cost only? Shouldn't we leave the 100 from there, from TC1?
That is total cost.
Ma'am, you said average variable cost is
I'm
TC1.
calculating the average variable cost now. I haven't written it till now.
Roger.
Yeah. Oh, in this. Okay, you're saying in this term. Yeah. Sorry.
Sure.
Variable cost
mistake.
of 1. Yeah. Yeah. I didn't pay attention to that. Right. So you can write variable cost 1 of q divided by q. Right. You're correct. I mistakenly wrote that as total cost. So we'll not take the fixed cost term. Let me just highlight that also over here. So this is the fixed cost term. And the rest is the variable cost. So we will take only the variable cost. So this is what your average variable cost comes out to be for firm 1. Okay, so now we will factorize this also the same way. Say, suppose I take 2 common minus 2q plus 50. Now this is very easy to factorize. This becomes 2q minus 1 whole square. If we take the whole square, what do we get? Q square minus 2q plus 1, right? Multiplied by 2. So this is 50 minus 2. We'll subtract what we have added over here. And this gives you plus 48. Okay, so this is the function you will get. Similarly, you will solve it for the other firm also. Over here, actually, normally in the books, what is given is that you equate marginal cost to average variable cost to find the point where average variable cost reaches its minima, right? Beyond that is the point at which the firm decides to operate. But you can also see just from this equation. This is the equation of a parabola. Now, for this parabola, if you want to draw it, you can draw it. But if you want to see just from this expression, you can see that this part is going to disappear only for q equal to 1. So the point average variable cost is, or say has a minima. Q is equal to 1. Therefore, it will operate at q greater than 1 and the corresponding p. So say suppose q is 1, what is the price at that point? Now you can just equate average at q equal to 1. Average variable cost is equal to 48. Now this is also equal to marginal cost and this is also equal to the price at that point. So it will operate at p greater than 48. Okay. So now in the answers I've given, actually I was really sleepy when I prepared this question. I forgot to mention this condition in the answer, but just assume that it is there. Okay, that all the answers I've given, the options, they're sort of incomplete without this condition. But I really forgot to add it in that question. So this still stands. Okay, so now this is how we find out the condition for operation of the firm. For firm 1, we're still on firm 1. Now, how do we get the supply curve? Supply curve is nothing but marginal cost curve, right? So what is the equation we got for marginal cost? Let me rewrite that. So for getting supply curve, we get marginal cost 1 is equal to P. So let's say P is equal to, P is price, okay? 6 into Q minus 2 by 3 whole square plus 47.33. You can keep adding as many 3s as you like. This is that kind of a number. Now from here, what we need is the supply curve. Okay, what we have is the inverse supply curve. So we will just transform this in the form of Q is equal to something something in terms of P rather than P is equal to something something in terms of Q, right? So we just, it's not that difficult. You just take P minus 47.33 divided by 6, take under root plus 2 by 3. So hopefully that is one of the options. In the answer, 2 by 3 is nothing but 0.667. So that is your Q1. Let me put Q1 here because all of these are for firm 1. So this is your, or QS1 if you want to talk about the supply. So this is how you get the supply curve for firm 1. If you solve for second firm, you will get a similar answer. And let me just give the answer right now itself. The answer is option A. QS1 is what we just got, plus, and QS2 is P minus 9.33 divided by 6 under root plus 1.33. So the answer A is correct. Now it's already like 15 minutes, almost 12 minutes past 7. So I'm just wondering if I should solve for form 2 also, or if you can solve it yourself. So whatever you, whatever you like. Do you want me to solve it, or do you want to solve it yourself for firm 2? Okay, you can do it because the next question is based on the answer for this question. So somebody just said that please solve. All right, okay, no problem. I'll solve it again. I mean, I'll solve this for firm 2 also. Just give me one moment. Okay, let me look at the function again. So for firm 2, we have TC2 equal to 2Q cube minus 8Q square plus 20Q plus 100. So this is again fixed cost term, and this is the variable cost term. Okay. Sorry, just give me a moment. Somebody's at my door. All right, so now what will we do? Marginal cost. First, we'll calculate marginal cost, average variable cost. Then we will find the point of minima for the average variable cost. You can do it in two ways. Either you equate marginal cost to the average variable cost. That is one way. Again, you will still have to solve a quadratic equation and all that. I usually do not like that approach. So the second way is the way which I take and which Professor Vimal has also discussed in the class, which is that we just factorize the quadratic term to get it in terms of a parabola. What I mean by parabola is like you write it instead of x squared, you get x minus 2 or x minus 4 or whatever whole square. So x is equal to, if it's x minus 4 whole square, that means x is equal to 4 is its lowest point, its minima, right? So I hope everybody's familiar with this much geometry and maths. So what we are doing here is, again, we'll calculate marginal cost, which is 6q square minus, let me just check, did I get this right? 8q square, right? Okay. 16q plus 20 is your marginal cost. Let's factorize this. This becomes q square minus 16 by 6q plus 20. So first we take the coefficient of the q square term outside the bracket. Okay. We make the coefficient for q square term as 1 by taking 6 common. Then we divide the whole, you will have one term in q square generally and one in q. So you divide the term with q by 6. You take the whole thing inside the bracket. Okay, this much is clear, right? This is what you can make this, you can solve for this. So this is 8, q minus 8 by 6 whole square. How do we do this? So if you want, I can just show you this as rough work. If anybody has confusion, you always say, suppose this is q minus x whole square. This is going to be q square plus x square minus 2qx. So if we take this q term as, this part 2qx, then 2qx is equal to 16q by 6. Therefore, you divide, cancel q, divide the whole thing by 2. What do you get? X is equal to 8 by 6. This is just rough work. Just to explain to you how I got this term in case anybody has confusion. 20. Now I will, when I do this whole square thing, I've added a constant term here, right? 8 square by 6 square into 6 is the constant term I've added. So I have to subtract that also now. So this, can I erase the rough work or should I leave it there? It's just taking up space on my work space. Okay, nobody has any opinion on that. All right, I'm leaving it there in case people have any doubts. So 20, it's okay. I'll leave it for people who may not have joined in the live class. The hell is gone. 20 minus, now we will subtract the constant term which you get from here, which is 8 square by 6. Okay, I've just written it in short. I hope you can calculate that. So marginal cost of 2 is q minus 4 by 3 whole square. 8 square by 6 is what you can calculate it. $10.667. So 20 minus 10.667. All right, 20. Comes out to be you can always do these calculations yourself and check that I have not made some mistake. It's always a good thing to check. Also, there is one more check which you should always do, which is that after you have calculated the whole thing, the point of minima of the average variable cost and everything, also check at that point you are getting marginal cost equal to average variable cost. That's like a check to see that your calculations are correct. Calculations are correct, it should be equal. Okay, this is a marginal cost curve. Let's do the same thing for average variable cost. 2q square minus 8q plus 20. That's it, right? Yeah. We'll again factorize this also. So in this case, it's not that complex. 2q minus 2 whole square, right? 20 minus 2 square 4 into A. This is your average variable cost expression. Therefore, at just writing it in short, firm 2 operates if Q is greater than 2. At this point where Q is equal to 2, what happens? Marginal cost is equal to average variable cost is equal to price. Therefore, and price is greater than 12. So when Q is equal to 2, average variable cost is what? 12, right? So it will operate only when price is greater than that price, which is 12. So this is what you get. I've just gone a little bit faster in the case of firm 2 just because I don't want to spend that much time on this, but I hope this working is clear to everybody, right? So then you can of course derive the supply function from here. Marginal cost of 2 is equal to P is equal to, again, you can write this as Q2 everywhere if you like. I have just made my life a bit easier by omitting the 2, but just for correctness, you can write it as Q2. All right, because when you're writing the supply curve, it's just better way to write if you write as 1 and 2 if you're given 2 firms. Now we just need to rewrite this in terms of Q is equal to something rather than P is equal to something. So we take 9.33, that side we divide by 6, we take under root, and we add 4 by 3. That is your second firm supply curve. So again, this is subject to the condition that P is greater than 12. All right. So this is how we find the supply functions and the supply curves for these firms and these type of questions. Let's go to the next question, which is second sub part of this question. Now you are asked the market supply at 2 prices. First is price P equal to 25. Second is price P prime equal to 55. So I'm just going to mute myself now. Please solve this part. It's very easy to do now that we have already solved everything. Just find the market supply at P is equal to 25 and P is equal P prime equal to 55. I'll give you 2-3 minutes to solve this. Okay, so I have the answer, but I just wanted to first discuss what we will do in this case. Anybody, you can unmute yourself and talk. Please pardon me. I'm just going to have some tea. It's my fast today. So on that note, also happy Gudi Padwa and Indian New Year, Hindu New Year to everybody who's celebrating. Um, so yeah, what will we do in this case? How do we approach this? So first thing we do is when we are given the market price, first we will check whether that price is above the firm's minimum, minimal price beyond which the firm is ready to operate, that peak prime which we discussed in the previous questions. Let me go back to that curve again. So in this messy diagram, this P prime is what we always keep coming back to, which is the price, basic minimal price, below which the firm will shut down, right? So whenever you're given the market price for any question of this sort, first thing you will check is that P greater than this particular P prime, which we have calculated here? Okay, that's what we did even in the question which we just solved. So now we have found out the condition for both the firms in this question. For firm 1, it will operate, only if P is greater than 48. And what is the condition for firm 2? It will operate only if Q2 is greater than 2 and P is greater than 12. So at P is equal to 25, only firm 2 will operate, right? At P is equal to 55, both firm 1 and 2 operate. That's it. That's all you had to do. Does this make sense? Any problems? No problems? Please let me know. If you have a problem, please tell me, because it's better to tell me than to not understand. I would not be very happy if you left the class without understanding this. So is this clear? Because we found that firm 2 operates if price is greater than 12, whereas firm 1 operates only if price is greater than 48. So 25 is greater than 12, but not greater than 48. 55 is greater than both 48 and 12. So when the price is 25, what will we do? We will find Q. Let's use small q. Q2 at P is equal to 25. We solve for this. We already found the supply curve, right? This is your supply curve, this very equation. Now, I'm not going to solve the whole thing, but I will just plug in the values and you can compute it. 25 minus 9.33 by 6, that's 4 by 3 or 1.33, whatever. And I think this value comes out to be 2.94. Okay, you can check if this is correct or not, but I think that is what comes out to be. So Q, which is the market supply, is equal to Q2, which is 2.94. All right. Now at P is equal to 55, you find Q1 from the supply curve of Q of firm 1, which is somewhere here. P minus 47.33 by 6 under root plus 2 by 3. So again, I'm not computing this. You can use a calculator and compute this. This comes out to be something. I have it written somewhere. I'll just write down the answer, or you can just calculate it. And Q2 is equal to 55 minus 9.33 by 6 plus 4 by 3, and I think this comes out to be 4.092. Now Q is equal to Q1 plus Q2. You can say QS if you want to be more particular. So QS comes out to be 5.889, something like that. You can always check the calculations, but I think this is what the answer comes out to be. So is this clear? When you're given several firms in a market, you will check for each firm. If you're given that the cost structure for all firms is the same, then you just need to check once, right? You just check with that one given cost function. But if the cost structure for each firm is given as separate, is different, then you calculate for each firm whether each firm is meeting its minimum threshold for operating in that market. All right. Okay. So this was a very important question. And even though I know in your assignment you don't have too many numericals in this week, but that does not mean that you will not get numericals. So I wanted to cover this, and it's a slightly important concept. So this is just one more question I have given on the same theme, which you can solve at your leisure. And it's a solved problem actually. So if you want to check, you can look at the book. The new thing which I have added, this part is not in the question in the book actually, which is what is the firm's producer surplus at this price. So because I'm not solving question 5, I'm leaving this for you to solve. I will just solve for the producer surplus for the previous question, just so you know how it is done. Now let's take price at 55. At P is equal to 55. Let's calculate producer's surplus for firm 1. Okay, I'm just illustrating how you calculate it. Okay, so producer's surplus is calculated by taking a difference between marginal cost and average variable cost and multiplying that by the quantity. So you can take this as marginal cost minus average variable cost multiplied by Q1, because we are calculating for firm 1. That's it. That's all you have to do. Okay. Now you are given price. So at P is equal to 55, you can calculate Q1, right? Is that not so? You just calculated it here. Let me fill in the blank here actually. Since we didn't solve, I have it solved actually somewhere. Yeah, 1.797. Yeah, so this is your Q1. You already know Q1. Okay. And you know the price. Marginal cost is price, right? All you need to do is calculate average variable cost at Q1. At P is equal to 55. And at Q1 is equal to whatever value you got. So calculate average variable cost. You know the function. Where is it? We got this function. This is average variable cost for firm 1. 2 into Q minus 1 whole square plus 48. Now we know Q, right? We calculated for Q, we solved for Q, we already have Q. 1.797 minus 1 plus 48. So again, you can just use your calci 0.797 square into 2. This plus 48 is 49.2727. Okay, so this is another check. You can always check. It should be less than marginal cost. If it is not less than marginal cost, you're doing something wrong, right? That means you're in the wrong part of the curve itself. Now producer surplus is nothing but marginal cost, which is 55 minus 49.27 into Q1. Now again, It's just calci work. You can calculate this. I actually didn't originally add this to this question, so I've not calculated it already. I thought I will solve that second question also, but we ran out of time. So this is producer surplus at that price for firm 1. Okay, so similarly, you can solve question 5. I just wanted to give you one more question for you to practice whatever we discussed, because it's a slightly lengthy calculation, and I didn't want it to look confusing. So I have solved the whole thing very detailed in question 4. Question 5, well, okay, if you want, I will solve it and I will post the solutions for it, but I want you to solve it yourself also, just to make sure that you have got the method correctly. Okay, question 6 is a slightly different question. This is not a very difficult question at all if you get the concept right. Okay, so you are given the production function for a firm which is using two inputs, Z1 and Z2, and the production function is under root Z1 plus Z2. Now, first of all, we've discussed this a lot of times in the previous classes. What type of a function is this? What type of inputs are Z1 and Z2? Are they complements? Are they substitutes? Are they something in between? Is this Cobb-Douglas? What kind of function is this? This is important because if you get this right, you already solved half the question. And if you get this wrong, even if you solve the whole question, you may still get it wrong. So what do you think this question is talking about? Anybody? Please unmute and answer. Nobody? Come on, we discussed this in the class. Most of you were there in that class. So whenever you have a function in which you have two inputs and they appear in the form of ax1 plus bx2, remember we had this question which we discussed in the class. If the inputs in the form of ax1 plus bx2, they're always substitutes, even if there is some other mathematical operator attached with it. So it can be ax1 plus bx2 whole square. It can be ax1 plus bx2 to the power of half or under root. It can be log of ax1 plus bx2. So other mathematical operations on top of it do not change the basic structure of the basic mechanism of operation for that firm, right? So this is a case of perfect substitutes. It's under root z1 plus z2. And now you are given that the supply function of this, they want you to find the supply function of this firm for the input prices such that the price for Z1 is greater than price for Z2. Input price means W1, you can say. Okay, in this question, they should have mentioned, or maybe I forgot to type, input price for Z1 is W1. I mean, it's sort of intuitive itself, but you can say this is W1, this is W2. So if W1 is greater than W2 and they're substitutes, they're perfect substitutes actually in this particular case, then what will happen? The firm will not use W1 at all. Why will it use W1 when it can substitute, why will it use Z1 when it can substitute Z1 with Z2 just as easily at a lower price, right? Isn't that so? Am I making sense? Is this logic making sense to everybody? Yes, no, maybe, lost? It's making sense? Okay. At
Yes,
least one
ma'am.
person answered. So let me write this down. So f of z1 plus, z1 and z2 is equal to, let's write that as q, because f of z1, z2 is what? Nothing but q. That's what you're supplying. Some places they may write it as y also, but since we have been using q as the convention, let's stick with that. is equal to root Z1 plus Z2. This is what given. If W2 is less than W1, firm uses only Z2, no Z1. Therefore, Q becomes equal to what? Under root Z2, right? Or Q square. 1 minute. Let me write the cost also first. I haven't written the cost function. Now, cost for this will be what? W2 into Z2, because only Z2 is being used. Isn't that so? No, Z1. So cost is generally equal to what? We take R into K plus W into L, or in this case, W1 Z1 plus W2 Z2. But since there is no cost, so it is what? It is just W2 Z2, right? Now we can just rewrite the production function as we said Q is equal to under root Z2. Therefore, Q square is equal to Z2. Now you can mark this as equation 1, this as equation 2. Now in equation 1, if we just substitute for Z2 in terms of Q, what we get? W2 into Q square. Isn't that so? Yes? So far, so good?
Ma'am, I have a small doubt here. Ma'am, Q
Yeah,
was initially under root of Z1 plus Z2. Now we
yes.
replace Z1 also with Z2. So
Hmm.
isn't Q should be 2Z2, ma'am? 2 times
No,
Z2 because
Z1 becomes 0. That's all.
Roger,
It
ma'am.
does
Roger.
not become double. You're not using double. You may be using it in any quantity. You're just going to take Z1 equal to 0 and Z2 is just Z2 still. All right. Now let's calculate marginal cost for this. We have the cost function. Now what is the marginal cost for this? 2W2 into Q. Right now, marginal cost for profit maximization. Marginal cost is equal to price. Therefore, price is equal to 2W2Q. But we are given price is equal to 1. Therefore, you substitute P is equal to 1. What do you get? If you write as Q in terms of something, it becomes 2 by W2. So D is your correct answer. Is this okay? It's not a very difficult calculation, but you just need to. So somebody else had also asked that question. So I hope that answers it, right? That we're not going to double it. We're just going to put Z1 equal to 0. Perfect substitutes does not necessarily mean you're doubling the input or something like that. It just means that you're not going to use Z1, you'll use only Z2. This is just a little bit of algebra, okay? It's not very difficult. You just write the cost function. All you had to do was write the production function, write this final value Q square in terms of Z2. It may come out to be in terms of Z1 and Z2 sometimes, but in this case, it's a simple question. You write the cost function here and you're still stuck if two inputs are needed. If one input is being substituted by Z2. I didn't understand your question. Can you repeat in reword your question? There is a production process in which you can produce using Z1 or Z2. Okay. Now, if you're making safety pins, you can make safety pins with steel wire or with, say, brass wire or something, right? That becomes, if Q is your number of safety pins you're manufacturing, then Q is equal to under root of Z1 plus Z2 is your production function. Now, if you know that brass wire is costing like 5 times or something like that, the production function was under root Z1 plus Z2. Yes, under root. You forgot the under root. Are you following my thread, what I'm saying first? So the production function is defined in that way, under root of Z1 plus Z2. One of Z1 and one of Z2, yes, in the ideal situation. Now, I cannot explain this a lot because I've already spent hours explaining this in the previous classes. So if you have not followed this, if you have not understood the case of perfect substitutes in production or in consumer theory, I recommend you go back and watch those videos because I have only 15 minutes left and I still need to cover a lot. So if you've not understood the case of perfect substitutes, please watch those lectures first. I don't mind explaining, but right now I don't have time. And I think other people sort of get it. So let me just complete what I was saying. So now if you know that brass wire costs a lot more than steel wire, you will use only steel wire to manufacture your safety pins. So what? Brass wire Z1 is equal to 0 and you just use Z2 with the whatever price of Z2 is there, W2. So it's not double. Okay, you're not doubling anything. Z1 is not becoming equal to Z2. Z1 is becoming 0. Please be very sure about this. The Z1 does not become equal to Z2. Out of Z1 and Z2, there are times when you will be using maybe Z1 and Z2 both. If your budget curve is not linear, even in consumer theory, remember consumer theory, if budget curve is not linear, then it will not be that you choose only one. You could be choosing a combination of the two, right? So in this case, that is not so. You're just given that one price is much higher than the other one. So you're using only that one, whichever is cheaper. And you will fulfill your entire production supply with that. Now, rest is just algebra. Let's move on to the next part of this question. In this, you are asked to find the profit function. Now, this is also an important thing because you should know how to find the profit function. Okay, let's continue with this. Let's write the profit function. What is the definition of profit function, first of all? It is total revenue minus total cost, right? Revenue is what? P into Q. Cost is what? We got the cost. There's a definite, yeah, the cost function is here, W2 into Q square. Right now, P into Q, P is equal to 1, right? In our problem, P is equal to 1. It may not be 1 always, but in our problem it is. And Q is given by, where is it? Yeah, 1 by 2 W2 minus W2 into Q square, 1 by 2 W2 whole square. I've just replaced the value of Q with whatever we got before. This is the supply function, right? This value I have just substituted in this basic term in terms of W2. Now let's solve this. This is what? Minus W2 into 1 by 4 W2 square. This 1 W2 will cancel. You get 1 by 2 W2 minus 1 by 4 W2. It becomes 1 by 4 W2. It's just algebra actually. Okay, this is your final answer for the question number 6, I think 7. Okay, so is this clear? The approach, how you will calculate it, is this clear? It may not always be a case of perfect substitutes, but I took this question precisely because I thought people might kind of mess it up. They might forget how you operate in the case of perfect substitutes. Okay, so I have 2 more questions, but I don't think we can cover both the questions. So question 8 is again similar to the question we solved, question number 4. This is a simpler question in that way. It's not asking too many things. It's just asking you if the firm should operate or shut down at the given market price. And price is 250. So I'm leaving this also to you to solve. If you have any trouble with this, we will discuss it and I'll solve the whole thing in the class on Saturday. Okay, not Tuesday. If there are any questions you want me to still solve from today's class, we will solve it on Saturday. Now let's go to question 9. This is not a difficult question, but I want you to kind of understand how to approach these questions. This is a question in which you're given the cost function of 10 firms in a competitive market, and you are given the demand function also. So what we want to find is the equilibrium price, quantity per firm, and the market quantity. Now surprisingly, you don't have these questions in your assignment, but anyway, you should know how to do this. You may still get the question because all these concepts are discussed in the class. Let me just open the function again. Okay, so you're given that the cost function of each firm is 25 plus Q square. Okay, now firstly, very simply, what we will do, marginal cost is equal to 2Q, and average, hang on, yeah, average variable cost is equal to just Q. Hmm. 1 minute, I think there is some error here. Just give me a moment. Okay, I am a little bit confused about this. I think there is some mistake here. I will have to check. I'm sorry, I solved it, but I think there is a mistake somewhere. So what I'll do is I will just look into this question. Now I'm afraid the question itself might not be entirely correct. So I'll need to look at it properly. Actually, I've taken this question from Perloff, so hopefully the question is not wrong, but I'm not sure if I am making some mistake somewhere. So let me look at this question, and I will post the solutions for it. I will solve it after the class, and I will post the solutions for it. But if you have any doubts, we can obviously discuss it again in the next class, preferably on Saturday, because Saturday we have an extra class to discuss all doubts. On Tuesday, we will discuss week 12. The reason why I want to discuss doubts on the Saturday class is because week 12, we have a lot of material. We have like 20 videos for week 12. So I would like to take up the time to discuss questions only from week 12 in the Tuesday class. So Saturday class, because we anyways have that extra class for overview and discussion and all doubts, we can discuss any doubts from this week's material in the Saturday class. The session on Saturday is 6 to 8. Let me, 1 minute, let me just check. I think I kept it 6 to 8 only because I have another class before that. So yeah, it's from 6 to 8. Saturday it's 6 to 8. So again, somebody was asking about the case of perfect substitutes. I was short on time. I still am short on time. I can't explain it in 5 minutes. That's the reason why I'm not answering it right now. But if you all want, you are welcome to join on Saturday. And we can go over the case of perfect substitutes again. If you have confusion or if you have forgotten or if you were not in the class, whatever be the case. Okay, let me erase this. Let me resolve it again and check if there is any mistake somewhere. Actually, I added this question at the last minute, so I may have omitted something in this case. Okay. So let's end the class here if nobody has any further questions. I will solve the last question and I will add this to the class notes when I upload it. The other two which are left for you to solve, I'm not posting solutions now. I would like you to solve it on your own. And we can also, I just try to handpick these questions from all these so many books. The thing is, if you look for it yourself, you will spend a lot of time looking for these questions in these books. So I try to go through all the books and I try to find all the relevant questions which can be discussed in the class. But of course, if you like, you're welcome to solve other questions also in these books. Some of them are out of syllabus, or some of them are too easy, so I don't bring those. So you can look at it in the books. There is one of them is actually a solved question, so you can just look at it in the book. And if you're still not able to solve it, if you have trouble with it, we will discuss it on Saturday. Okay, so I will end the class here. Any other doubts, questions, anything? No? All right, then I'll end the class here and hopefully I'll see you all on Saturday. Thank you.